Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome, welcome to day 7 of 15. Let me know where you're connecting from. Chief Chima, Ruth, Chooks, Miss Afriye. Hi, good evening, good evening, good evening. Oh, thank you for connecting tonight. Good evening, good evening. Let me know where you are joining us from today. Hi, YouTubers. Hi, Instagrammers. Good evening. Good evening, good evening. Let me know where you are joining from tonight. Welcome to Breaking the Silence, day 7 of 15, as we create awareness about domestic violence and abuse. Let me know where you are connecting from tonight. If you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, let me know where you are joining from. Okay, somebody says from Bangladesh. Awesome. Good evening. Thank you for connecting tonight. You are very welcome. Like we love to do, please share the link, share the link, share the link, and get people to connect with us as we have this interesting conversation once again. So invite your friends, invite your family, invite everyone to connect with us tonight. Adnan, thank you. Blessing, hi, good evening. Elsie, hi, good evening. Thank you for connecting. You are very welcome. We're very welcome tonight. Yes, it's day 7, and it will be actually interesting, just to see how much we have been following from the. Okay. Awesome. Can you hear me, Instagrammers? Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me from Pakistan. Okay, Habib. Okay, good evening. Good evening. Voice of the Spirit, good evening. Thank you for connecting. If you can hear me on Instagram, please give me a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Awesome. You can hear me. So you've been here, if you've been here maybe yesterday, day before yesterday, or you've been here at least once before now, I want you to put in the comment section 1 or 2 things that has jumped out at you whilst we've been having this conversation. Put in the comment section 1 or 2 things that has jumped out at you while we've been having this conversation. Okay, so I see people joining from India as well. Awesome. Thank you so much for connecting. We are talking about domestic violence and abuse and how we can protect ourselves and how we can heal and how we can help people who are going through that kind of situation or have gone through that kind of situation. All right. Okay. So it said it's night. Yeah, it's also night. It's night here. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you for connecting. So, one or two things that has jumped out at you, we have gone from explaining what DV is about. We've said domestic violence is not just physical. Violence can be emotional. Violence can be verbal. Violence can be psychological, violence can be financial, violence can be sexual, violence can even be spiritual, right? And it's important for you to understand the signs of violence, to know what the signs are, the red flags, right? So that you can protect yourself, right, from it. It's because you have no control over what other people do. You only have control over your own actions and your reactions to their actions. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we are going to be looking at, yeah, okay. Somebody says the abuse is not your fault. Blessings. Awesome. Right. Absolutely. Because sometimes perpetrators will tell you that it was because of what you did. That's why I did this. So you are reacting, right? You're not acting. And one of the things you need to do is to be intentional. That is simply emotional intelligence, being intentional about what you were doing. You are not reacting to what somebody else is doing. Because somebody else is doing this, and then I will do this. No, you have to be intentional because you are responsible for your actions. Yes, so we've looked at all of that. We've answered some questions. We've looked at the biblical view of abuse. We have said that abuse is not of God. God hates abuse, and there is no moral, no societal, no scriptural, no spiritual, no religious justification for any kind of abuse, because God created you and He desires that you be treated in an amazing way, that you be cherished, that you be loved. Yoyin. Good evening. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Funke Aze, good evening. Temi Hara, great coach. Good evening. Thank you all so much for joining. Please share the links with your friends and with your family and get them to connect with us tonight as we continue this conversation. And yesterday, we started to look into the mind of the abuser, what is going on, And then I remember saying that abuser, because again, I will say this, I always say it, abuse is not gender biased, abuse is not status biased, it's not country biased. It can happen anywhere to anybody at any particular point in time, right? And one of the things that we mentioned yesterday was that nobody was born as an abuser. Right? Nobody was born as an abuser. That person that you are looking at their behavior today and you're wondering, oh my God, how did you do this? Something happened along the line. And the truth is, the genesis of abusive traits in people is actually from their childhood. Something happened to that person in their childhood, in the environment they were in, that's distorted the normal functionality of their brain. Because sometimes, I don't want to go ahead of myself, but there are some people who have been diagnosed as sociopaths, psychopaths. They were not born like that. Something happened along the line that distorted the normal functionality of their brain, right? Your prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, if they're underdeveloped or they're not developed properly, they can cause you to behave in a way that is abnormal. And that's what happens to a lot of people that abuse. Sharon, I see you. EAB, hi, mentor of grace. Good evening. Thank you all so much for connecting tonight as we just continue with this conversation. Right. So yesterday we talked about unhealed childhood wounds, and we said that a lot of people, many people become abusers because they are carrying unhealed trauma from their childhood. Okay, if you're meeting me for the first time, I am the Soul Doctor. My name is Jola-Grace Emmanuel, and I love to say that I am committed to helping you heal, thrive, and grow. I am a certified life and trauma recovery coach, and I help people who have been through any kind of trauma, adulthood, childhood, to heal so that you can become a better version of yourself. I love to say that regardless of your experience, what you have gone through, you carry value, and your world is waiting for you to deliver that value. I see you YouTubers, Georgie, hi, good evening, Ronald, Mustafa, Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for connecting. Official Sandy, Karimal, Karim. Good evening. Apologies if I mispronounced your name. Thank you so much for connecting. So we started to look at childhood trauma and how it affects the behavior of the person who eventually turns out to be abusive. And I've said it before that trauma has the capacity to shrink the size of your brain. Which is why sometimes I say to people, there's your family, your friend is in that abusive situation, and you are seeing everything that is going wrong. And you are saying to that person, this is toxic for you, this is unhealthy for you. And the person is not seeing what you're saying. In fact, the person is sort of making excuses and saying, no, it's not them, it's me. And you sometimes you get angry with them. And I often say to people, don't be angry with them. I've had families reach out to me and say, oh, this sister, this our brother, this. I said, you have to be patient with them. I said, why? Because your own brain is functioning at maybe 10 over 10, 9 over 10, 8 over 10. It's functioning nearly at optimum. So the way they will process, the way you are processing things, the way you are seeing things is different from them. Their own brain, because of the trauma has reduced the size of their brain. So they are possibly, right, functioning at 2 over 10, 1 over 10. They cannot process things the way you are processing it. And so you need to be patient with them and keep letting them know that we are here anytime you need us. You are loved regardless of what. I'm talking about the victims now, right? So it is important for you to note that. So we're talking about abusers now, getting into the mind of the abusers. And I talked about the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. So the amygdala is the brain's brain's threat detector. The part of your brain that if maybe you start to smell smoke now, so something is telling your brain, okay, there's a problem. So you are panicking, you are looking around, okay, where is the smoke coming from? You are trying, wanting to quickly get rid of that threat, because that thing is like a threat. Or you're on the road, you hear a car honking. Oh, that means that a fast car is coming. It quickly alerts you for you to what? Be safe, right? Move to safety. Now, when trauma is in the mix, right? This part of the brain, right, can be faulty. So it exaggerates responses, right? Have you ever been around people who exaggerate, right? You know, sometimes children can be like that. Maybe it's just a tiny cut. It's baby. Calm down, it's only. But on a normal basis, someone who has gone through trauma, that's why sometimes you might realize that some people overreact. So you're like, I just moved this cup like this. And you flare up. Why would you touch my cup? How dare you touch that cup? Why would you move my cup? Are you foolish? Are you stupid? And then you're like, wait till we carry, wait till we did true. Let me do Yoruba English. Wait till we carry, wait till we now did true. But it's not their fault. It's because there's a distortion somewhere in them. And remember what I said yesterday. Understanding the mind of the abuser doesn't mean that we are excusing the abuse, right? Is only trying to help you know that, okay, this is why this person is doing this. And possibly the person can get help. Or you see some of those traits, right? Because the 40 or 45-year-old abuser was probably having those negative behavior at 16, at 15, at 10, at 17. But nobody noticed this for them to help them to change it, right? So it's important for you also to be able to understand that. Shola, good evening, sis. Stephanie, good evening as well. So we started to look at that, and we said that chronic trauma can easily lead to a brain that is hypervigilant, right? Emotionally deregulated, right? So, in fact, there's something I normally say that a dysfunctional child, a child that experienced trauma, will grow up to become a dysfunctional adult. It's not their fault. Except there is an intention, right, in bringing healing and helping that person reframing the things that they've experienced. So, unhealed trauma, right, can cause a person to become abusive. But you know, the good thing about the brain is our brain is elastic, right? So when we talk about neuroplasticity, I can't pronounce that word. Neuroplasticity, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. But your brain is plastic. It just means that your brain is plastic and that you can change. You can unlearn. You can relearn. So you see, habits, people's character and the things they do, their behavior, their habits they learned over time. So you've learned that if I want to have my way, I will shout, I would throw tantrums, I would, manipulate everybody around me, I would put fear in their hearts, then I'll get what I want. It's a behavior. So your brain has learned that that is the way to behave in that experience. But you know what? The brain is plastic. That means it can change. It can change. You can alter and reframe the behaviors and put in new empowering behavior. And that is a good thing. That is why we're trying to explain these things to say, okay, if you're out there and you're struggling with this, there is hope. If you seek help, there is hope. You can get help, right? So our brain is capable of change. And you can heal. If you are on the other side, you've gone through, because listen, some people go through trauma and they come out of that immediate environment of trauma, but they are stuck for the rest of their lives. Because I think I don't know whether I was here or in another meeting that I was saying, you need to stop romancing your pain. You need to stop romancing your pain. A lot of people just, it has happened, now they are out. But for the 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, they are still talking about that pain. They are still so focused on that pain. Anytime you see them, the conversation is around that pain. Is around this thing that is happening to that person. So it is important, right, that you say to yourself, I need to rise above my past. It has happened. See, one power, superpower that I'm sure a lot of human beings, if it's possible, I would definitely love to have that power, is to go back into our past and change the things that happen to us. I don't know if you would love to have that. Stephanie, I see you. Lizzie, hi. Olani, Peter, Jomi, Lizzie, I see you. Troy, hi, good evening. Thank you so much for connecting, right? The truth is, right, what has happened in the past stays in the past. There's nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can do now is to rise above that past, learn from the mistakes of your past, and what? Become a better version of yourself. And that is why I say heal, 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 because you carry value. Okay? So the next thing we're going to be looking at, right? We've looked at the fact that childhood trauma causes people to become abusers because they are trying to protect themselves. They think they are trying to protect themselves in their mind. So somebody abused them, somebody was controlling them, so they are growing up saying, nobody will ever control me. I'm always going to be, ready to attack, ready to defending myself. I'm not going to allow this. So then subconsciously, they become an abuser. Now, other things that can make people become abuser. But again, remember what I said, that the genesis of all of these personality disorders is still from childhood experiences, from negative experiences. The sad thing is, what happened to you a lot of times is not your fault, because as a child, the abuse you experience is not your fault, even as an adult. However, that situation has now formed you to be who you are not supposed to be. I was sharing yesterday about one of the presuppositions in NLP. Oh, Pastor Debola, good evening. Tolu Adedaya, good evening. Nderi too. Hi, good evening. Thank you all so much for joining. So I was saying that I remember that when I was doing my certification in neuro-linguistic practitioning, that our facilitator said to us, one of the presuppositions of NLP is that every action stems from a positive intention. And I'm like, my head could not fathom it. How can you tell me that every single action. But the truth is, it's true. So you see, that abuser, that psychopath, that sociopath, something broke in them as a child. Perhaps they were neglected. They didn't, you remember, yesterday I talked about the 5 basic soul needs: love, care, attention, affection, appreciation. And they are needs, right? The ages of 0 and 7 are the formative ages of a child. So between those ages, those things are so critical. Unfortunately, some people don't get it. They don't have any of those things. It's one thing for you not to have it, for you to be absent. It's another thing for you to now have the opposite of those things. It creates negativity. I'm trying to choose my words. It creates negativity in that person, right? So a lot of times, those people who have now grown up to be abusers, what they are trying to do is what they are really looking for on the inside. And you will see that most of abusers are actually, if you chunk down, go inside, they are scared, they are afraid, they are timid. They are like, okay, I really want to be in control. I just don't have what it takes. They're actually jealous of you, the victim. That's why they feel, no, I need to pull you down and bring you to where I am. We read Ephesians the other day, and Ephesians, the message, Ephesians 5, where the Bible was talking, Paul was talking about husbands, love your wife, and do this and do that. And he was saying that for no man hated himself, because you and your spouse, you are now one. So except you hate yourself, if you don't hate yourself, if you love yourself, you will love your wife. So that simply also explains this, what we're talking about, that those people who are abusers, they don't love themselves. They reject themselves because they have been rejected while they are growing up. So at the base of their behavior is a cry for help, is the desire, right, for those positive emotions. But listen, all of these things we're talking about is not an excuse. Abuse tolerated becomes aggravated. Do not tolerate bad behavior. Okay? Especially because you know that this thing is toxic to my soul. The same way we take care of our physical bodies, right? So I'm sure if I say, oh, when was the last time you did your BP? Oh, I've gone for my medicals, I've checked my blood, I've checked this, I'm eating right, I'm eating fruits and vegetables. I was watching a video of a 100-year-old woman at the gym, right, earlier today, and they were asking her, oh my God, how old are you? She said, I'm 100. How have you stayed so fit, stayed so healthy, and looking this good at this age? And the woman was like, oh, since I retired, I walk 4 kilometers every day, I eat right, I eat my fruits and vegetables, I stop eating at, I don't know, maybe she said 7 o'clock or something like that, just maintaining a healthy lifestyle and make sure that there's no junk inside of me. So if we can be that consistent and that intentional about our physical health, listen, physical health is not only the kind of health you're supposed to have. 3 John 2 says, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. And wholeness is the health of your physical body, your soul, and your spirit. So it's also important for you to know that I have a responsibility to keep my soul healthy, to make sure that I don't position myself in a situation where toxicity will now eat up my soul and stop me from fulfilling my purpose. I am Hope Christopher James. Good evening. I see you. Thank you so much for connecting. So let's quickly look at 1 or 2 personality disorders. And the first one I'm going to look at, that we're going to talk about this evening, is antisocial personality disorder, right? Some people who abuse, so there are different personality disorders, and sometimes these things are not really diagnosed. These things are not really diagnosed. Why? Because it's very unlikely that the abuser will go and see a doctor and say, well, I do this, I do that, please, what is wrong with me? Because one of the traits, as you will see in our journey, is that they often don't see what they are doing wrong. Is where the Bible talks about the God of this world has blinded their minds. Their mind is blind. They can't see what you're saying. They can't see what everybody else is saying. So most of the times, these personality disorders are not even diagnosed. So it's even more challenging to say, okay, let us help you get help and let us help you get better. So antisocial personality disorder, right, is characterized by a persistent, I've been saying this, that all of these things we are talking about, even when we're talking about the signs, is persistent. Every time is happening. Every day, the person is doing these things to you. This negative behavior, they keep gaslighting you. They keep calling you names, bringing you down, belittling you, hitting you, shouting, throwing things. All of those things, every single time, persistent, right? So, antisocial personality disorder is a persistent disregard for the rights and feelings and safety of others, right? When you feel so, even apart from what the Bible says, and I'll explain it from the spiritual angle in a minute, as human beings, every human being has a right. You have a right to life, right to speech, right to living, right to this, right to that. So you have a right. But you see, some other human beings, they disregard the right of other human beings. They feel, no, you don't have a right, right? They just don't. When other people are, things that people do, support each other, care for people, be in people's, supporting them in their events and things like that, they feel, no, why do I have to do that? Right? They feel, why do I have to be nice to you? What do I stand to gain from it? Right? If anything they are involved in is not directly benefiting them, they are not interested. They're not interested. And a lot of times they will manipulate, they will deceive, their behavior is impulsive. Because they always want to make sure that whatever they are doing and they are involved in, they derive some benefit to themselves personally. They intentionally, like, okay, and so you want me to come and pick you tomorrow. When I come and pick you, what's going to happen? What about food? What about this? Yeah, I can't just do that. So by the time they finish talking to you, you actually feel bad for asking them to do something for you. They are not interested, right? And some of their behavioral patterns, I will just rush through it because I want to be able to finish this today, right? Chronic exploitation of others, and they don't feel bad about it. So when you see people that defraud other people without blinking an eye, is antisocial personality disorder. Because they don't care about you, about how you feel. If they do something bad to you, they don't care. They don't. So chronic exploitation of others, they don't feel bad. These are the people that will get into trouble. They don't care, if they catch them, they just intentionally go out there and do whatever, right? They are happy hurting other people. They don't have empathy. These people don't have any iota of empathy inside of them, right? They have difficulty forming genuine relationship. So these are the kind of people who will rather get jobs that they don't have to talk to anybody. Just them and their laptop, or just them alone somewhere. Most of the time they are lone rangers. Antisocial personality disorder. They are antisocial. The other person is antisocial. They're not interested, right? And what has happened to them is, well, like I said, something happened along the line where they're growing up. Perhaps they faced rejection. Their primary giver was never there. There was someone that was sharing that when they were in school and they were young and they were in the boarding house, like everybody else is on visiting days. Those of you that went to boarding house will remember visiting days. On visiting days, every other child had their parent or family member coming to visit them. But for them, consistently throughout their secondary school, they will say, oh, don't worry, I will come. And because, again, the parents were separated. So they're expecting this parents to come. That parent said, oh, this other parent will come. And then that one will not come. And then when they say, but that one was supposed to come. So this person had to just live with that. Like, well, I'm not important. Nobody cares about me. And then they grow up telling themselves, why should I care about anybody? Why should I care about anybody? Nobody cares about me. So they don't know how to form genuine relationships with people. Most of the time, when they're in a relationship with somebody, for them is, what can I get out of this person? Usually they are users. What can I get from this person? If they are marrying somebody, they are marrying the person because of what they can gain from that marriage. And once that thing is no longer there, that's the end. Or maybe when they enter the marriage, they see that, this person is not behaving the way I expect them to behave, then there's problem. Right? So for them, it's always, what is in need for me? Because, right, when they were growing up, right, and there was rejection, their primary givers were not there, they were neglected, their prefrontal cortex did not develop the way it's supposed to develop. So they struggle to make healthy decisions. They struggle to interpret the situations that happen in their life normally. They see threats in everything and they're like, no, I have to protect myself. I'm the only one that I have. I don't have anybody else. I have to protect myself. I can't be vulnerable. These are the kind of people that they cannot be vulnerable with anybody. They can't be vulnerable. I watched a movie recently, Atlas. I don't know if you've seen it on Netflix, right? You will see that Atlas, for a long time, she was a lone ranger. She was just lived her life with her AIs and robots and everything. And even when they were going to put her on a mission, right? Some of the other guys said, "Oh no, but she doesn't have any emotional intelligence. She doesn't have any relational intelligence. She doesn't relate to people. How can she work with us in this team? Blah 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 blah." And eventually, she got on the mission. And along the line, it was the what she experienced as a child that made her, she couldn't trust anybody. She told herself, "I can't trust no one." You go and watch it. It's like a sci-fi movie, but it was quite interesting. She trusted a robot that her mom made some mistakes. The mom died. Things happen. And because of that, she just shut down. She shut down. But until she was able to talk about that negative experience she had, not until then did she actually get freedom and then started relating with people normally. Remember what I said, that the brain is plastic, so there can always be a change, right? I am Gloria Oko, good evening. Queen Ara, Unstoppable, Abby, good evening. Tina, I also see you, good evening. Krati, hi, good evening all. Thank you so much for connecting tonight. Yes, we are still raising awareness for domestic violence and abuse. Is October Domestic Violence and Abuse Awareness Month, and this is part 2. I'm hoping that we'll finish this tonight, so that we can there's still a lot that we need to talk about, right? So that is antisocial personality disorder, right? And it's important for you to know that recognizing these patterns, these things that I'm talking about, right, will help you help people that you are seeing those patterns, especially if there are people that are in your circle, in your life, in your family. Because what happened to you does not have to keep you trapped for the rest of your life. It really grieves my heart when I see people suffering in their adult lives for something that happened to them as a child and they had no control over. Remember that all of these things we're talking about is not to excuse abuse. It's just for you to understand it. And understanding it will help you protect yourself. Because you now understand that this person does not have control over what they are doing. See, it's just like, so let me use a very, very vivid analogy, right? Somebody has psychosis, right? Most of the time, people that have psychosis don't have control over anything, right? They can't even dress themselves. You see them walking on the road. They put a cup on their head. Their shoe is on their shoulder. They are eating from dustbins. So they have psychosis. They are not coherent. Nothing. They can't do anything for themselves. Their brain, they will say that person has lost their mind. And that's why I keep saying that your mind is your greatest asset. Now, if you see this person that obviously has psychosis, we all know, the person, and sometimes they're very dangerous. They can be holding a cutlass, right? Or holding a stick, or holding something. Now, imagine that you're driving on the road and then you see this person with psychosis, with a cutlass, with all sorts of things, And then you just looked at the face and you recognize the face and you're like, wait a minute, You now slow down, you wind down, and you're like, I know this guy. We went to school together. We went to school together. This is a Kurikata. Kurikata. And then, of course, you are saying Kurikata. I just formed that name. It doesn't exist. You know me and how I form my names. Kurikata. But Kurikata was, when we were at school, Kurikata used to help me with my courseworks and everything. Kurikata was, in fact, Kurikata, he allowed me to squat with him when we were in school. No. This is going to be unfair of me. In fact, God will not be happy with me if I leave Kurikata on the road. Pastor Demola, leave me alone. I said, God will not forgive me. I said, I will leave Kurikata on the road. No way. My house is very big. I am going to take Kurikata home and look after Kurikata. Amen. Somebody say amen. Amen. You now stop. Kurikata will just be laughing at you. Hey, I say, come, Kurikata, come inside my car now. I will take you to my house. And then he entered with his cutlass and his hammer. And then he's there, he's laughing. Now, I just want you to now set your imagination wild from there on. Finish the story yourself. What is going to happen now? You get Kurika. Hey, Wale Sachs. Hi, good evening. It's been a minute. How are you doing? How's the family? Tell Tolu to call me. Wale, tell Tolu to call me. So, imagine you get home. What are people saying amen to? Did I pray? I'm just talking about Kurikata. Hey, Diwali. Hi, good evening. So imagine what happens now. You brought Kurikata. Kurikata is your friend though. But Kurikata has psychosis. You carry him with his cutlass to your house. And your children are there. Your spouse is there. People are there. What do you think will happen now? Just one night. Just imagine one night. Kurikata in your house. What will happen when you wake up the next morning? Let's not even imagine too far. Because it's very unlikely that you will carry Kurikata to your house. Very unlikely. Even if you are a psychiatrist. Why? Because yes, what you said about Kurikata is for real, is true. It was helpful to you in school and all of that. But at the state Kurikata is in, he has lost his mind. He cannot function normally. His brain is not processing information properly. He might see your child and think that your child is a snake that wants to come and bite him and slash the child. And it's not his fault. His brain is not normal. So you see, as much as you have empathy for Kurikata, you want to help Kurikata, you probably place a phone call to a hospital. You get, the hospital look after them to come and pick them. You say, okay, don't worry, take care of him or her. I will pay for their hospital bills. And then you go to church, you pray, or you go to mosque and you pray for Kurikata to get well. That is what you will do. You will not bring Kurikata into your space. Why? Because it's dangerous to you. Danger. And I intentionally use that example. This is a very vivid one for you to remember that, yes, I might understand why this person is behaving like this, but if I keep them around me, it is dangerous and I am responsible for my well-being. Oftentimes, I say to people, I ask people in my sessions, who is the most important person in your life? For those of us who are Christians, sometimes we struggle to answer that question. Because your mind is fighting it. No. In fact, they will sing that song, J-O-Y, joy, J-O-Y, joy. This is what it means. Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. Excuse me, I did not... Please, Pastor Adebola is here, or there are some other powerful men and women of God. Please send me the verse that thing is inside, because I've not found it. I've not found it. Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. I have not found it. What I saw is love your neighbor as yourself. Right? And If we quickly go to English class, what does as mean? As is simile. So if I say, okay, guys, clap as I'm clapping. 1 1. 1 1. Oh yeah. 1 1. Oh yeah. Clap as I'm clapping. 2 2. 2 2. Clap as I'm clapping. So if I'm doing 2 2 and you are doing 1, something is wrong now. You're not clapping as I'm clapping. So it means that the way I'm loving myself, my neighbor, is the way I am loving myself. Love your neighbor as yourself. And a lot of people cannot love other people because they don't love themselves. Sometimes it's not their fault. But the fact is, they don't love themselves. Hey, sis Dupsy, hi, good evening. Oluchi, hi, good evening. Thank you so much for connecting. Ronnie, thank you for connecting. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Amazing. Amazing, amazing. So, love your neighbor as yourself. And I usually say to people that when I ask them who is the most important person in your life, and people struggle to answer that question, they say all sorts of, this person, that person, my children, my what, my dad, my dad, my dad. I don't have time to go into I will give you some gist about the children later on, right? Well, when you bought a flight and you're about to take off, right? Yeti's baby, good evening, I see you. And you're about to take off. You bought a flight and you're about to take off. They make some important safety announcements. One of the things they say is, in the case of loss of cabin pressure, right? Your oxygen mask will fall from the top of your seat. And then they say this thing that blows my mind every time. Fix your oxygen mask first before helping others. There's no caveats to say, well, if you have a 6-month-old baby, or if you have a 2-month-old baby, or you have an aged parent, or your wife is beside you, or your husband beside you, fix their oxygen mask first before you fix your own. No, regardless, baby, fix your oxygen mask first. Because listen, girl, listen, guy, if you are not breathing well, you cannot help anybody else. You can't. I know parents who are struggling to be good parents today, not because they are bad people, but because they are carrying the weight of trauma. And so they are struggling. The most important person in your life is you. So they tell you, fix your oxygen mask. Once you fix your oxygen mask, then you can help other people. Because while you're struggling, say, let me do this person's own for them first. As you are struggling to do that person, you are losing oxygen, and God forbid, that might be the end of that person. So you have a responsibility to look after yourself. The same way you look after yourself physically is the same way you must look after yourself emotionally, mentally. Right? So all of this is that we're talking about, like I said, is for you to understand, not for you to excuse those behavior. Let me quickly move on to another. I'll try and talk about maybe at least 2 more before we go today. Borderline personality. So we talked about antisocial personality disorder, right? Getting into the mind of the abuser. The next one I want to talk about is BPD. You've heard that before. Borderline personality disorder. And as I go through the traits, you're remembering somebody, or say, oh my goodness, or maybe it's even you. And the thing is, we are not judging. We listen, we don't judge. And literally that's what we do in coaching. We listen, we don't judge. The brain is plastic. If you forget anything, don't forget that. And so it can be changed, it can be adjusted, is malleable, you can mold it. And that's what we do in coaching, that's what we do in therapy. Don't allow childhood trauma to turn you into a dysfunctional adult. Because what happened to you as a child is not your fault. So why do you want to? Because now you are in control of what you do with your adult self. So heal. Heal because you carry value. So borderline personality disorder is one of the most emotionally complex and misunderstood personality structures. Why? Because, excuse me, one person, 1 minute rather, that person is the best human being in the world. That's why it's called borderline. The next minute, they are the worst human beings. So you see, okay, I don't want to go ahead of myself, but next I'm going to talk about narcissistic personality disorders, and that's one of the most common disorders in abusers. Narcissists, is it narcissists? Even though people have also bastardized that word, so I'm going to bring some perspective to exactly what's narcissist. Because when I say, it's not that's narcissist, that's narcissist. Some of those things is not, it's just normal human being behavior. But with borderline, 1 minute, this person is the sweetest person you can imagine. The next minute, you'd want to divorce the person because you're like, what is this? I don't understand. So for you, you're like, because if he's an abuser, I should be bad all the time now. But this person is not bad all the time. Right? So Chioma, good evening. Omoteniola, good evening. Nympha Aesthetics, good evening as well. Thank you so much for being here. So again, back to childhood. A lot of people that struggle with borderline personality disorder, right? They have what we call emotional volatility, which is something that happened in their childhood. They have deep fear of rejection because when they were growing up, they didn't get those 5 basic soul needs we've been talking about. Their primary caregiver was not there. So they fear people will leave them. So they are the kind of people that are clingy in relationships. Very clingy. So they always think, because somebody left them when they were young, they always think, okay, if I'm in a relationship with this person, the person might leave me. So sometimes they become troublesome because they don't want that person to leave them. And so the things they are doing now is hurting that person that's supposed to love them. That's what's called borderline. Their emotions shift rapidly. From 1 minute, they are loving you. The next minute, they are hating you. From 1 minute, they are connecting with you. The next minute, they ghost you. And you're like, what happened? Yesterday, we were talking, and then the next minute, this person, I'm calling, they are not picking. They just ghost you for 1 month, 2 months or something. And these are some of the signs you should check out. So even in the dating, in the courting, before you get married to the person, some of these things you can begin to see them. Because I say to people, and if everybody that has been through abuse can be very honest with themselves, you saw some red flags before you married that person. I did. The signs that were there. But you know what we do? We excuse those signs away. We just excuse, it's because of this one, maybe that one, and then because at that time, like they say that your emotions are the one that is leading you. You are not leading yourself, right? Good evening, King Williams. Good evening, Dr. Shola. Good evening, Olugbope. Hi, good evening. Thank you all so much for connecting tonight. We're talking about BPD, right? Talking about what is going on in the mind of the abuser. So these people, right, they fear abandonment because they've had unstable relationships a lot of their lives, right? So some of the traits that you will see in them is their emotion, sorry, just looking at something. Some of the traits you see in them, right, their reaction is not always proportionate to the events that happen in their life. So they overreact to everything. Something small might happen. They will blow it up. What do you mean? All of you, you're there. I will not talk to you again. I will block you. I will They overreact. And except you understand what they are dealing with, you will not be able to relate with them. In fact, except you understand what they are dealing with, those kind of people, you might just cut them off from your life. And it's remember what I'm saying, this is not excusing the bad behavior. It's understanding so that the person can get help. Understanding so that you can get help if you find yourself in that kind of situation. Because nobody, right, can control another person's behavior. All you can control is your own behavior or your own action and your reaction to their actions. And that's so critical, right? Now, for people who struggle with borderline personality disorder, like I said, they fear abandonment. That is their greatest fear. If you check everything they are doing is don't abandon me. I don't want to be. Those kind of people cannot thrive on their own. They are not whole. They can't be by themselves. Somebody always have to be in their life. These are the kind of people that kind of parents, there are some parents that they grow up and their children grow up and their children cannot have peace in their own home. So their children are now married, but their children cannot have peace. He's my son. I suffered for my son. And then they're always demanding the attention of the son. They now think that the spouse of their child is their enemy. They make the spouse of their child their enemy. And even in that dynamic, it's very tricky because now this is your parent. So except that child himself has or herself has a high level of emotional intelligence, that child too can be woven into that unhealthy circle. So it's important that you understand what this person is going through and you can help them get help whilst also protecting yourself, right? So people with borderline personality disorder, when they become adults, right, like I said, they are hot and cold at the same time. They are desperate to be in a relationship and then they want to push the people away again because, oh, they might hurt me. What if they hurt me? Right? Now, what's going on in the brain of that person? What neuroscience has shown, has revealed, is that there's hyperactivity in their amygdala. Things are just working boom, 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 boom. So again, in all of these disorders, the brain is not functioning well. Remember that I've forgotten the name of the guy. Could because I made the name up. Karakudia. What did I call the guy? Fuck. I made the name up. Oh, so imagine the way that guy is that, okay, they can't help themselves. He's has psychosis, he can't control himself. It's the same way you need to start relating with people that you see these traits in. But the most important thing is you protecting yourself, right? Because abuse tolerated becomes aggravated. Now, what happens in their prefrontal cortex is emotional deregulation. They're very impulsive. Very impulsive. Everything must be drama. They have to create drama every single time with every single thing. And they wear the people in their life out. So you see, someone that is in a relationship with someone that has kurikata. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. Kurikata. I'm just always wondering, what is kurikata? Kurikata is not anything. It's just a name that I made up. Right. I think I'll start writing fictional stories now because I think I'm quite good at making up names. Kurikata. I just call one of the fictional characters Kurikata, then Karasita, and then maybe Hulibudu. I'll just give them names so that nobody will say, how are you talking about? Because people like us that do coaching and therapy, if you just go and mistakenly mention the name of use it as an example, they will not say, hey, confidentiality. So I have to be making names up that it doesn't exist. Nobody can quote anybody from anywhere. Right. So you see, the people that live with people that have these disorders, right, they might not take a stick and hit the head of their partner or their family members, right? They might never slap them or anything like that. But their responses, their action, right, is a high level of emotional abuse. Emotional abuse. Because there are some things that you expect when you're in a relationship with somebody. Love, care, their soulmates, right? Communication, all of these things. And there you are in that relationship with that person with BPD and you don't know 1 minute they're telling you, I love you so much, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. And then the next thing they're telling you, you're horrible, I hate you. So your own mind is confused. It's draining for you. And see, trauma weighs you down. I said the other day about mind-body connection. That's the things that happen in your soul, in your mind, in your emotions, often deteriorate to your physical body. I'm sure you can see a little bit of my scar here, right? The trauma, the years of trauma I experienced resulted in cancerous tumors on my shoulder. The doctors in Royal Mass said, we've never removed cancer from anybody's shoulder before. They didn't even understand it. Trauma, that's what trauma will do to you. So you have to protect yourself. Understand that, this person is borderline, no? Because today they are this, tomorrow they are that. So you see, when you understand, so there's something, a lot of cars has, I think every car has, forgive me, I'm not really that mechanical. But I believe that there's something called shock absorber inside cars, right? Shock absorber. So that if the car maybe gets into a ditch, right, or a pothole, I can't, forgive my explanation, right? It might not be, I know some of you know better than me in that area. But I'm just figuring out that the shock absorber is to absorb shock when the car hits a pothole or something, so that something will not spoil inside the car. The car already knows that, okay, it's shock, I'm good. You have to give yourself emotional shock absorber. That is why we are talking about these things. So, and sometimes this person might not even be somebody you are in a romantic relationship with. It might be somebody at work. It might be a neighbor. It might be somebody you know, somebody you are acquainted with, that you still have to relate with this person, but you struggle with their behavior. You don't understand it. So you already know that, okay, this person is saying I love you now. The next minute, they might abuse me. So when they abuse you, guess what? The shock absorber is there. It doesn't enter into you. And I think somebody asked me a question, was it yesterday or so, about being in a family that is abusive, but they are elderly people and you don't know what to do. This is what you need to do as well, shock absorber. So you know that, okay, this one, BPD, okay. Of course, go and get help. Sometimes they will not listen to you, but you have to get shock absorber so that those things don't affect you negatively. Right? So let me run. Can I rush? It's 3 minutes to go. I don't want to rush. Narcissistic personality, MPD. Okay, so we'll do MPD tomorrow. Right? We'll do MPD tomorrow. Let me see if I can answer a question. If you have any questions, please, you can use the question icon to send your question, and we can pick it up from there. This question there. So let me check, because I did say that we'll try and answer questions. So in summary, right, remember what I said, it is vital for us to understand that these personality disorders that we're talking about, they are not excuse for you to tolerate those negative behaviors. It's just for you to understand and to protect yourself. And if you know anybody that is, that is affecting, you also understand that it's coming from the place of their childhood, and advise them to get help. They might not, because sometimes that's part of the traits. They don't think anything is wrong with them, right? But at least you can protect yourself, because you have a duty to protect yourself from harm in your body, in your spirit, and in your soul. Okay, so good evening, most queens, Bolaji, Olatoye, Chaoyi, good evening as well. Thank you so much for connecting with us tonight. Now, I talk about healing a lot, and I say that this is the best gift you can give yourself is to heal from any kind of trauma you've experienced. Trauma doesn't have to get you stuck in life. Trauma doesn't have to stop your destiny and your purpose. God has put something beautiful and unique and authentic inside of you. You know what Joseph said? Joseph's life he could have been stuck with his past. He had a traumatic past. Joseph, the child of Jacob, right? Because I know there's another Joseph. You could have been stuck in destiny, because that was trauma, man. Trauma. His brothers in the pit, in Potiphar's house. I mean, imagine, okay. So imagine somebody who has, I'm trying to see who can, his father was wealthy. I don't want to mention, just so imagine those billionaires that you know. Those billionaires that anything they want, the father will give to them. They go to the best schools. You know, those ones that they treat with all, just, and then Joseph now was now the, what do they call them now? The pets, is that what they call them? I can't remember what they used to call them now. Those ones, the pet of the house. It was Joseph. Now, this same Joseph, do you know what happened to him? His brothers sold him. This same Joseph is now doing houseboy. Let's not make it look, he was houseboy. I don't want to call name of people, but I really want you to get what happened to Joshua. So imagine just imagine those millionaires, billionaires, those people that their child is now somewhere doing houseboy. How now? That was Joseph's trouble. In the midst of his houseboy, he was doing the right thing. In fact, I was having a session with someone today, and the person mentioned something and said, I'm sure the person won't mind me sharing it because, of course, confidential. Names are not mentioned, just to help people. The person now said, oh, I did something and I was honest, and it's as if when you are honest, you don't get what you want. And I was like, okay, let's quickly reframe that. Because now your brain, because of your experiences, your brain is beginning to interpret the situation to mean that honesty doesn't pay. Because I was honest, I didn't get what I was looking for. I was honest. And obviously, honesty is important to you because honesty is one of your values. So therefore, you need to reframe that experience in your head and say to yourself, no, honesty is one of my values. I hold honesty in high esteem, and honesty will bring me the things that I want. Because I said that our experiences, right? Our experiences can cause us to have a distorted opinion of ourselves. Your experiences can cause you to have a distorted opinion of yourself. Now, the guy now was honest, truthful, and then what happened to him? Prison. I saw something, I don't know where I saw that thing, and maybe I shouldn't even share the joke because I don't know if it's a clean joke, right? The person was just saying if it was, I'm sharing if it was David that was in Mrs. Potiphar's house, but let's not go there. Let's leave. Let's not, we listen, we don't judge. We listen, we don't judge. But Joseph could have come to a conclusion that, what's the point of doing the right thing? It never gets me anything good anyway. And see what will have happened to him. He will have been stuck in destiny. He will have never fulfilled, achieved his goal and his dreams. And trauma can bring you to that place where you just conclude that the people, there's no, this life, people are not nice. People are not kind. What's the point of me being kind? People are not trustworthy. I'll never trust anybody in my life again. I'll never do this again. And there's a reason why you are like that, because something happened to you. But listen, you have no control over what other people do to you or don't do to you. You only have control over your own actions and your reactions to their action. I cannot overemphasize that. Don't interpret situations to your own disadvantage. Interpret them to favor you. It's good to be honest. Honest is my value. It's good to be good. I'll keep doing good things. And eventually, Joseph said something. He looked at his brother. He said, you meant this for evil, but God turned it around for good. What a thing to say after you've experienced trauma. and you walked with God. We will talk about forgiveness. Okay, so I know I can't do MPD today, so I'll do MPD tomorrow, maybe start, because there was a question we started to look at, and I said we're going to give a whole session to how do I forgive someone who hurt me so deeply. And I'm telling you, forgiveness it's something that I've gone through. It's a journey I went through. It's a journey. Forgiveness is a journey. And I'll share some of the things that I did, because you have to forgive your abuser. For you to be able to stand as the prime minister of Egypt, you have to be able to forgive your abusers to the extent that you will say, it's okay. You meant it for evil, but God has turned it around for my good. And God will only turn it around for your good when you forgive. I don't want to start going to forgiveness today, but I thought I'll just mention that. Because it is important for you to now say, okay, this is where I am now. The past is in the past. What do we do moving forward? Because the future is a blank check. Regardless of how dark and painful your past is, the future is a blank check. Now, if you have not registered for Invent to Excel, you don't want to miss it. 7.0. 17th, 18th, and 19th of October. It is free. It is virtual. You have no excuse not to be there. We have amazing speakers that will be coming. Dr. Akin Akinpelu, Reverend Funke, Adetu Beru. We have Dr. Mike Anthony, Pastor Lizzie David. We have Coach Ibukun. We have amazing lineup. Some survivors are coming to share their story. It is virtual. Go and register. Link is in my bio. And share the link, because you will hear how to rise. The theme for Revenge to Excel 7.0 is rise, rise, rise. Right? We will handhold you. We will pull your hand. When is it Peter now met that guy, the crippled guy, at the gate of the temple. He didn't just say rise. The Bible says he held him by his hand and pulled him up. And some of you need pulling up. That is going to happen at Reinvent to Excel 7.0, because it's time for you to rise. Why? Your shine is at the end of your rise. And your shine is there, waiting for you. But you need to rise before you shine. So go and register. Link is in my bio. If you're watching on YouTube and you need the link, you can send an email. Remember to hello@Jola-Grace.com. So I think there was a question. Let me quickly see. That's why I say use the question icon. But maybe, hi Taiwo. Let me just scroll and see. Simi Abbas, good evening. Awuni BC. Okay, there it is. All right, so stonewalling, right, blessing is simply when people ignore you. Maybe you are having a conversation and there's a disagreement or there's conflict and they just block you off, right? So it's like, what's that other one now? Silent treatment, right? They just don't want to engage with you again. They just don't want to talk to you again, because and most of the time is because you are right and they are wrong. It's also a control tactic. It's what abusers used to control you. To the extent that there was someone that was, this was happening to the person, the perpetrator did something wrong. And you're saying, oh, but you did this wrong thing, you hurt me. And then the person now pulled something that, then you too, why did you do this? So let's say what the perpetrator did was 100%. The victim now did something that is 2%. The perpetrator now capitalized on that 2% and then stonewalled this person. And I was like, well, it's okay, leave it like that. Sometimes you need to leave it like that. Because the person said, oh, before I'll go and apologize, I'll go, I'll be the one. And it's a way of gaining control over you, over your emotions, over the things that you do. Right? So, but understanding it, knowing that, again, shock absorber, create a bubble around yourself. It's just like a defense mechanism of not you being responsible for your actions or owning up to the things that you've done wrong. Okay? So, We're going to call it a day today. Ooh, amazing, 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 amazing. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me again tonight. I am the Soul Doctor. My name is Jola-Grace Emmanuel. I help people who have been through any kind of trauma to heal and reinvent themselves for an excellent life, because you carry value and your world is waiting for you to manifest. And like I said yesterday, yes, it's still standing. If you know that you are ready to start that journey of healing, right, and you want to engage me as your personal coach, throughout the month of October, there's a 50% discount. Ouch, 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 ouch. There's an ouch as I'm saying it, but I'll say it. There's a 50% discount on all my coaching and therapy packages throughout the month of October. So please, just because I'm passionate about this thing, you can use the WhatsApp link in my bio to send me a message to take advantage of that. Just say, Coach, I'm ready to take this journey. Or you've started the journey before and you stopped on the way. You can kickstart that journey again. Why? Because you need to deliver the value that is inside of you. You need to fulfill your purpose regardless of the experiences you've had in your past, so that on the last day when you stand before Him, you can hear that voice. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of thy Lord. Thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight. I'll see you tomorrow, day 8 of 15 of Breaking the Silence. God bless you all. Yes, the affirmation is already in my bio. Blessing. So I did promise the affirmation is already in my bio. So if you go to my bio, and I said it's going to be there for a limited time only, this is Soul Spa affirmation, audio affirmation is already in my bio. Go to my bio, just click, and then you can download it and what have you. So it's being uploaded in my bio today. So you can have that as well as my gift to you as we create awareness in this month of October. God bless you all. I'll see you tomorrow. By God's grace.